All right, so let's get started. So today we're going to be reviewing the updates and fixes made in the upcoming patch release. The next patch should be patch number 481, but this does have the potential to change. This patch is targeted to be released on June 27th, which is going to be this Thursday afternoon. If you experience any issues downloading the new patch, please don't hesitate to contact the help desk. There is a link available to our ticketing system in Jira and a phone number that you can call listed on the references slide in this presentation. The slides for this presentation can be found on our website, rms.usace.army.mil. That link can also be found on the references slide. These slides will be updated to include any Q&A that occurs during this webinar, and this presentation is also being recorded. So this video will be posted on our YouTube channel following the training. We also have some demos recorded and linked already at the end of this presentation in the references slide. Those may not have made it into the slides within the invite since that was sort of a last minute update, but the most updated slides will be made available on the RMS website. Keep an eye out for the video of this training. It should be posted within about 5 business days following today. So if you know someone who couldn't attend or you'd just like to be able to reference back to it, that's going to be made available on our YouTube channel as well as listed on the RMS website. If you have any questions regarding anything we cover today, please type that question into the Q&A section of this WebEx. We do have some folks on standby ready to take care of those as they come in. We're also going to open up the floor for discussion at the end of the presentation. So if you'd like to just wait until the end and then unmute to ask your question verbally, you will have the opportunity to do that as well. Okay, here are our topics for this training. First, we have a pretty significant update for revision history being added and an update to the return for corrections capabilities. Those updates are made generally and then also specifically under the administration tab, the finances tab, the QA/QC tab, and the import/export tab. We also have other fixes and updates included in this release under the administration for the contract menu, the finances, QA/QC, and then finally import/export. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll look at the references and give an opportunity for any Q&A and discussion to take place. Okay, first up is going to be a general update to a lot of document packages throughout RMS. This update will not include all document packages throughout RMS, but we'll review the outliers as we move forward. Buttons have been added outside the document packages to accompany these document package data grids. And these buttons are for submission, acceptance, return or rejection, and completion of document packages. So for government mode, the accept and return buttons will be available for contractor submitted document packages, while the complete button will be available for government generated document packages. For contractors, the submit button will be available for submission to the government. The exceptions to this update are going to include modules where accept, reject, and/or return and complete actions are now dictated by the work performed in the module itself. And if that's the case, the document package is no longer independent of that work. So those areas where the document package is now dependent on the work of the module is going to be the request for information module, contractor payrolls, correspondence, exposure hours, hazard analysis, and the the QC daily and QC dredge daily reports in government mode only. So for those areas, the handling of the items in those modules will dictate the handling of the associated document packages as well. So for example, once an RFI has been completed and submitted to the government for review, instead of having to independently submit the document package as well, that's going to be automatically done once the RFI is submitted. When the government accepts or returns the RFI, the document package will also automatically be accepted or returned. Throughout this presentation, we've added this identifier text box to each slide where this is not the case for that document package. The document packages marked with this identifier will be independent of the work performed in the module itself, and they'll need to be handled separately. Due to the update for integrating the document packages here, those buttons inside the document package for completion or submission have been removed from the document package edit view, and the buttons we reviewed in our last slide here will also not accompany those document package data grids. Okay, moving on. Our next update is in relation to the to adding revision history to RMS. The revision history, now included in some modules, will also be accompanied by this view button. You can either double click on the item in the list or single click and click on the view button, and that's going to show the state of the revision that you selected before the listed action was taken. So for examining a submit revision, the draft view of that item before submission is going to be presented in a view like this once you make that selection. This view is also going to show up in a restricted view, so no edits will be able to be made. It's just going to give you a glance of what that item looked like before that action was taken. By default, this is going to be listed in descending order, but that can be changed by clicking on the column, the revision date column. You can also view any document packages. There's none in this example here, but if the revision that you selected contains a document package, that is going to be included in this view as well, and you will be able to view it. Okay, so now we're going to review where revision history was added, along with some other extraneous updates included and related. So first up, revision history has been added to the correspondence module in both government and contractor mode. This is an area where the document package is dependent on the work performed. So when correspondence is submitted, the document package will be submitted as well. And acceptance or return of the correspondence will also accept or return the associated document package. The accept letter checkbox has been added to the government's view of correspondence as well. When this checkbox is checked, the document package will also become accepted. When viewing contractor submitted correspondence, this checkbox will accompany the return for correction checkbox. An additional note for this update is that when a correspondence is sent from the contractor to the government, or excuse me, is sent to the contractor from the government, so the other way around, the government has to make sure that the accept letter checkbox and the sent status of the letter are both set to letter sent and the checkbox being checked. If these are both not marked, as shown here, it's got the sent status set to letter sent, but the accept letter checkbox is still unchecked, the contractor will not be able to view that document package. So both of those are going to need to be done to allow access to the document package for the contractor. Next up, revision history was also added to the request for information module. This document package is dependent on the work performed in this module. So when an RFI is returned or submitted or accepted, the document package will be as well. And there was also an update to the return for correction status on a document package. When the RFI is returned for correction, instead of saying it's still in review, the document package is going to display the return for correction status. Revision history was also added to contractor payrolls. And again, this is another area where the document package is dependent on the work performed in the module. When the payroll is submitted, the document package will be submitted as well. And when the payroll is accepted and or returned, the document package status will update accordingly for whichever action is taken. The labor interviews module, those document packages contained within the module will contain revision history as well. The screen for the actual interview will not, but the document package within will have the revision history table. So these document packages for labor interviews are not dependent upon the completion of the labor interviews. So the document packages for labor interviews will need to be completed independently of the interviews themselves. The buttons are available outside as well as within the document package for submission and acceptance or return. Next up is for contractor insurance. Revision history has also been added here in government mode as well as in contractor mode. There's also no document package dependency, which we can see here again by the buttons being available outside as well as within the document package. So those will need to be submitted and accepted and or returned independently of the insurance. Moving into finances, we also have added revision history to progress payments. A note about this one though, the revision history in government mode will only show on the invoice tab. However, in contractor mode, this revision history table will display when on any of these tabs. So any of the tabs that you have open, the revision history will be displayed in contractor mode. This is another area where document package dependency does not exist. So the document packages for progress payments will need to be submitted, accepted, and or returned independently of the payment itself. We also have an additional note here on progress payments in contractor mode. So while we were working on verifying these updates, we noticed that the contractor mode view of the requested activity earnings tab was showing in a condensed view like this one up here. And this was showing on monitors 15 inches or smaller. And in this condensed view, there's no way to scroll down. There is a scroll bar, but there's no way to view what you scroll down to. So that's an issue. It's not allowing anyone to enter values or see the activities that are supposed to be listed there. So to fix this, you can go into your computer's display settings and change the scale of the display to one option below the default or whatever is currently set. So in this example, it was set at 125%, which is the recommended default. And if I change it to just one below that, which is 100%, it fixes that view for me. These scale settings are unique to the computer that this was worked on. So if the values are different in your computer settings, just make sure to select the next option below the currently set option. So the option lower than that, and that should correct this viewing issue. Just an FYI for anyone who may have experienced that. Okay, so returning back. Moving on to the QA/QC tab, revision history has also been added to QA daily reports. There is no document package dependency on this one either, since multiple signatures or approvals are needed for these reports. The document package has got to be handled separately from the report itself. This is also due to the multi-sign feature that's available in the QA daily reports and due to the fact that 2 signatures are needed. The document package is not dependent on the report. Revision history was also added to QC daily and QC dredge reports. In this slide, we're showing both the government mode and contractor mode views to show the difference in the document package dependencies in each mode. So over here in contractor mode, we have the view of having the submit button available outside the document package for the QC daily report. And that's because the document package for a QC daily report needs to be submitted independently for a contractor. But over here in government mode, there is no dependency for the document, or excuse me, there are no buttons available outside the document package. Once the accept report checkbox is checked, it's going to go ahead and accept the document packages in there as well. Another way the document package dependency can be identified is by looking at whether a folder icon is available outside the document package or the buttons. So if there's a folder icon, that means that this module's work is going to dictate the document package handling. But if the buttons are outside the document package, then there is no document package dependency, and the document package will need to be submitted or completed separately. I don't know if separately is the right word, but separately from the item that's being worked. Okay, back in QA Daily Reports, specifically the deficiencies submodule within QA Daily Reports, revision history has been added to the document package view within the deficiencies submodule. This is not within the deficiencies screen. In this area, it's only within the document package view. There's also no document package dependency on this one, so the document package will need to be submitted and accepted or returned separately from the report. Revision history was also added to document packages in the QA tests module, this can also be accessed from within QA daily reports through the QA tests submodule within that the reports. The document package is not integrated into the process of completing the QA test. So again, that document package will need to be handled independently of the QA test. Similar to the last one, revision history was also added to the 3-phase inspections module. Again, this document package is not tied to the completion of the inspection checks, so the document packages will need to be handled independently here as well. The hazard analysis module now also has revision history, and this is going to be an area where the document packages are integrated with the work. When a hazard analysis or AHA is submitted and accepted or rejected, the document package status will follow suit with whichever action was taken on the hazard analysis. Okay, exposure hours also got revision history at the bottom. The document package is also integrated with the actions taken on exposure hours. So when the report is submitted to the government for review, the document package will be as well. And if the government accepts or returns the exposure hours report, then the document package will do so as well. Another related update is for the pop-up that appears when the contractor is completing the exposure hours report. This new prompt shown here is going to appear to guide the users to click yes to complete and submit the exposure report with the digital signature. Click no to complete the report without digitally signing, or to do neither of those and cancel. Okay, moving into the import-export tab, we will now review the addition of revision history for some modules in this tab. First up is the network analysis schedule module. Within each import file, the revision history will be available at the bottom of the screen as shown here. Now, this revision history is only going to track submission and acceptance or rejection of the import itself, but it's not going to track if the import was performed in into the contract or for earnings into payment. Those details won't be available as part of the revision history viewing, only submission and acceptance or rejection of the import file itself, of the ability to import the file. And for the import submittals modules, both the import submittals through Excel and the import submittals through Specs Intact, revision history was added for each import file as shown at the bottom here, similar to the last one. And this is going to be the same as the last one. It's going to have the same restrictions with the revision history showing only the submission and acceptance or rejection of the ability to import these submittals. That's the only thing that's going to be tracked in the revision history. The actual import of the items will not be tracked in this revision history. The revision history is essentially just going to track when it was submitted and by whom, and when the revision was accepted and or rejected and by whom, and that's it. Okay, so moving on from the revision history and return for correction updates, we have several other updates included in this release that we're going to review. So first up, that's going to be in the contract notification control module under the administration tab. Text message notifications have been disabled for RMS. The in-application notifications marked under this column, and then the email notifications are both still active. So those are still available for use. Next is an update to sort of to the contract menu. It's also related to the PCF. So when a contract has documents returned from PCF with these specific errors, the contract/project is inactive in PCF, invalid delivery number, PCF cabinet is in litigation, and PCF cabinet not found. For those errors, upon entering a contract, RMS is going to provide a prompt just like this one before entering the contract to just let the user know, hey, these documents were returned for these reasons. These are the names. Any action taken here on this pop-up is going to just take you directly to the contract you're trying to access, though. So if you click OK, it's going to take you to the contract menu of the contract you've selected. And then if you exit, it will also just take you to the contract menu. Selecting anything in here, again, will just take you to the contract menu. So to investigate these documents that you see, you can go to the contract file to view those or look in the respective module where the document resides. If you have questions about these errors or you just don't know what to do with them, please just contact your RMS admin. There may be an issue with getting things over to PCF or from. So if they have issues, they can reach out to the help desk if needed. Okay, moving on to a couple of updates for finances. First is going to be an improvement on the translation of errors from CFUMS to RMS and its users. These errors are going to be defined in the RMS error messages in simpler terms that should be a little more clear in determining what's wrong and how it can be fixed. So the two download errors here shown to the left are from contract finances. Those can occur when CFUMS is either offline or there's maintenance going on. And then the error over here to the right on the bottom is going to come from an error with the progress payment. When there's an error with the progress payment, a button is going to show up in the top right corner for the progress payment that says CFUMS errors. And you'll be able to click that, see the log of errors. And once you select one of the errors, it's going to come up with this to lay out what's wrong. For these errors, you can check CFUMS to correct any incorrect or missing information there. And if that does not work, please make sure to call the help desk and they'll be happy to assist with any troubleshooting. Next up, still in progress payments, 2 more columns were added to the obligations tab in government mode. Accrual information was added in the CFUMS accruals column. and the obligation payment status column was also added. And this was just to help streamline review of this area and see things at a glance instead of having to select each line and then view this information for each one in the bottom here, which was the case previously. Now we've added these columns so that it can be a little clearer up front rather than having to investigate. If you're seeing red in any of these columns, just take that as an indication that you should probably take a look at CFMs and make sure that everything is set up the way it should be for the accruals to determine the state of the accruals, whether they're like automatic or manual. You'll have to find that out by looking in CFMs. Okay, moving on to contract modifications. This update is for modifications that will be completed and loaded into PCF outside of RMS, as indicated by this checkbox on the Mod Package tab. If this is the case, and that checkbox is checked for a modification, instead of the document status being document not ready, this new status document not required in PCF is going to show in the status column as well as the PCF container column for those mods that are completed outside RMS. Okay, this is a bit of a complex issue that we had fixed here. So this was a fix to an issue that was occurring with the subclin reference numbers. This issue was found when users completed the funding for a modification CLIN on the release mod tab in a contract modification. So after entering the government signature date and opening the CLIN in the CLIN changes section, clicking on this funding button will bring up the list of obligations to link this CLIN to. And once the funding is entered and the next button is clicked to move forward, this view here would appear and allow users to change the subclin reference number the first time this appears. In the past, the number could be edited the first time, and then every other time this screen comes up. And really, it can only be entered once. After that initial entry, any changes that would be made to this field were not getting updated and finalized. So, and that's due to the subclin reference number only being able to be entered once. So this has been fixed, and after that subclin reference number is entered once, either automatically generated and kept or edited to suit the needs of the contract, that cannot and will not even look like you'll be able to change it again. So as shown in the lower left corner here, after initial entry, the field for this subclin reference number is going to be grayed out and inactive for editing after initial entry. Okay, moving into QA/QC updates. We have an update to the deficiencies displayed in the QA daily reports. Previously, the grouping on these deficiencies wasn't very clear in the report, and so that's been fixed, and the report will better be able to capture and list, then group the deficiencies in a more logical way. So as shown here, we've got the following QA deficiency items were issued today. The following QA deficiency items were verified today, and the following QA deficiency items were corrected today. So hopefully that clears up that information in the QA daily reports. Okay, now for QC daily reports, a new function has been added for the government to accept multiple reports at once. So in the QC daily reports module in government mode, this new multi-accept daily reports button is available, and you'll be able to accept by selecting certain reports or selecting all by using this top checkbox. Please do note that some of the daily reports are going to show as accepted before being accepted through this new operation. So you may encounter this screen with reports, with the report status that says accepted already. If that's the case, then this is due to one of two possibilities. The document package was completed for the report, but the report itself was not completed, or there are multiple document packages associated with our report, and maybe only the first one or the first two were accepted, and so the subsequent document packages have not been accepted. So that's the case if some of these show up as already accepted. The new multi-accept operation is going to mark any of those lingering reports or document packages as accepted. Okay, next up under the import/export tab, we have an update to the real property import template spreadsheet. A new column, the RPU ID column, has been added to this template. This new column is optional, but it's available for entry now in the template spreadsheet if that value is known. If you've already downloaded this template from the import real property module and you still use it, be sure to get another download of it after this release comes out, because the template has changed. So you'll need to re-download a new version of that. Okay, our final update for this release is going to be in the network analysis schedule module, as well as the contract setup module. So in contract setup, in the submittals/schedule tab, in this contractor schedule section, requires the contractor to use actual start and finish dates from the QC reports on the network analysis schedule checkbox has been updated to disregard network analysis schedule imported actual start/finish dates, use dates entered into QC daily reports instead. Also, as part of updating that option, when that checkbox is selected in contract setup, the network analysis schedule module is going to display a note that is according to this setting set. So since that setting is set in contract setup, it is going to say imported schedule actual start and finish dates will be disregarded. QC daily entered dates will be honored. And then if this option is not selected, the note in the network analysis schedule module will update accordingly as well. QC daily entered dates will be overwritten since this is unchecked. All right, and here are those links to the demos that we got up kind of last minute. Those are available for the document package updated processes, the revision history, the scaling issue that we discussed for the progress payment edit view in contractor mode, the PCF documents returned error warning messages, and the multi-accept feature in QC daily reports in government mode. We also have some helpful links down here at the bottom for the RMS website, the RMS YouTube channel, our Jira Service Desk link, a phone number if you'd like to just give us a call instead, and a CAM portal link. Okay, so that concludes the presentation, and so now we'll open up the floor for any verbal questions or discussion to occur.
Thank you. I have a couple of things that I want to add really fast before we get on to questions. Can you run over to slide 16 for me, please? So one of the things that you may want to, you may be asking about this new document package dependencies that we have. How can you tell if something has a document package dependency? Well, it's actually really easy to tell. So as you can see on slide 16, we have contractor mode over on the left-hand side, and you'll see beside the document package, there's a button available. If you see a button available beside the document package, there is no dependencies. However, on the right-hand side, in the government mode of that QC daily report, you will see that there is an icon for a document package folder. That indicates that there are document package dependencies. So any action that you do to the actual item will also be replicated to the document package. With that being said, for exposure hours, it is very important that you make sure everything is correct before you hit that accept button, because once you hit that accept button, that document package will change to an accepted status and it will get sent off to PCF. So if it's not right, then it's going to get sent. Unfortunately, we cannot control that. So you need to make sure you double check on that. If it needs a signature and the government and the contractor didn't sign that, make sure you reject that and send it back to them. So that way they can actually put the yes button instead of the no button and it'll sign it for them. So there's no reason for them never to be able to sign it. Now I do see there's a couple of questions in the chat that we haven't answered yet. So I'm going to start with the first one first, and then we'll go from there. The first question that we have is, will USACE or contractor get a warning if there are QC daily and NAS conflicts? The only information that you're going to get when you're on the NAS screen is it's going to tell you whether or not it's going to accept it or not. So if you go to the preview import, there's going to be that warning up at the top that we showed you on the import slide for the NAS, that it's going to be honored or ignored based off of the checkbox and contract setup. That's the only warning that you're going to get. Whether they're the same or not is going to be up to the contractor to go ahead and take a look at it, or up to yourselves to take a look at those differences in the dates to see if there's anything changing. Let's see here. Another question that we have. Yes. So the question is, can you share or send the links of an updated PowerPoint? Yes, actually, we have that work in progress. It should be up on the website hopefully before the end of today. Now, along with that, those video YouTube links, those are already on YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube site, they should be showing up. They'll also be posted on our regular RMS website as well. Hopefully that will also be done by close of business today. Let's see here. I think that's everything. Oh, there was one more comment that I would like to address about the text size. So with the revision history that was added to the progress payments, due to various different settings in the actual computer, there's a limit to how much we can and can't do with this stuff. So most of the smaller screens are going to have this problem, but it's only going to happen on those very small screens. This screen, what you're seeing on the view right now, this is a workaround. This is not something that was programmed into RMS. This is just something that we found when we were doing this. This is something that unfortunately is computer specific and size specific. So you don't have to keep it in this scale setting. You only have to do it, and only the contractors would need to do this in this particular case. So if your contractor comes to you and says, hey, I can't enter my activity amounts in my progress payment, you can either, one, tell them to go ahead and change their scale, or two, have them call us at the help desk, and we will be more than happy to help them with how to do that and showing them how to go back and forth, so that way they don't have to leave it in that smaller amount. Now, keep in mind, each computer is different. If your computer says your recommended size is 150%, then you don't have to go down to 100%. That's more than what you need. You only need to go down to 125. There are other ways to go about doing this, but the scale is the easiest and the fastest workaround that we have for that. Let's see here. I think that pretty much addresses everything in the Q&A. So please go ahead and unmute yourselves. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you.
I have a question. There's an issue in between RMS and PCF. Is this interface issue an RMS issue or a PCF issue? And the second question is, if this issue is solved, anything specific for all the push requests that has already been done? Do I need to do anything else? Because I already pushed a couple of modifications to the PCF. Do I need to do anything specific?
No. So basically, the connection between PCF and RMS is currently still in the works, because both servers were moved. Well, excuse me, both systems had moves to different servers. We're trying to open those up. RMS has been opened up. We're still waiting on PCF to be opened up to allow us to be able to send those documents. Once that does happen, you don't need to worry about doing anything. As long as your document package has been marked as accepted, it will start kicking in and it will start sending off all of the documents that are in RMS at this time and ready to send. Now, granted, that means that the usual 1 to 3 day lag is going to be a little bit longer because there's going to be a whole lot more documents that need to go to PCF. But once PCF opens up their side so we can send that information to them, then it'll just automatically start flowing. Does that
Thank you.
answer your
And,
question?
yes, and also when approximately would that happen? I was told that it's July 31st or something.
I'm not entirely sure where you got that number because I don't know what it is. We've been working with them closely to try and get it going through. They've given us a couple of different numbers, but honestly, I really do not know what the actual date is. We're hoping to get it as quickly as possible, but again, we're at the mercy of the network.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see here. We do have another couple of questions in the let's see here in the chat. The first one is, do QC reports have to be approved for their dates to be accepted? I'm not 100% sure what you mean about for their dates to be accepted. Are you talking about for the document packages?
No, we're
Or are you
talking about in reference to, we use the NAS uploads to progress payments. So if you're saying that the button would allow QC dates to be put in and accepted as actual starts and actual finishes, could you not see a contractor slipping in actual starts or actual finishes that the government's not tracking in reference to payments?
It doesn't happen in payments. It only happens in the NAS so basically you guys have the option of allowing the contractor to do that or not. If you go into contract setup and you check that box, it doesn't matter what they put on their NAS. What's entered in the QC daily report is going to be the be all end all issue or choice. That's what it's going to be. However, if you uncheck that box, what that means is it's going to allow the contractor to enter actual start and finish dates in their NAS schedule and then import it into RMS. And it doesn't matter what they put in their QC daily reports, the NAS is going to overwrite that. So if you don't want the NAS to overwrite what they put in the QC daily reports, make sure you check that box to disregard the NAS import actual start and finish dates. So does that answer your question?
No, not exactly, because we also use the NAS import to import that data into progress payments.
So the progress payments aren't going to update the start and finish dates though. So when you're importing the information off of the NAS, it's actually a different set of information that's going to be imported. It's not going to affect the QC daily report at all.
Okay, so if they put in their QC daily report that they finish an activity and it updated the activity schedule that they're using to load their progress payment, and they said that we finished it, but the government doesn't agree that that activity was finished. And we have our schedule meeting where we say, well, we don't agree that was finished, but they put it in their QC report that they think it was finished. They can't forcefully push that data in. That was my question. So like we would have to accept their QC daily report before that date got populated?
So if they're doing it through the QC daily report as they should, then no. Basically, if you look at it and you see, so they're supposed to put the actual start and finish dates in the QC daily that they're doing those start and finish dates. That's what they're supposed to do. So, if they do it in a different daily report, it's not going to show up on that particular daily report. But if you look at it, in the schedule and it doesn't match, go back to the daily report with that date on there and see if it's on the actual signed QC daily. I bet you it's definitely not, but they are supposed to put in the actual start dates on the day or the actual finish dates, both, on the day that it actually happens in the daily report, not before, not after. So unfortunately, you do have to check and make sure that you agree with that on those dates that they pop them in there. The thing about this, when you've got that signed copy of the daily report, you can hold them accountable if they said, hey, we finished this on this day, and you go look at that signed daily report and it doesn't have it on that daily report. You can be like, no, you didn't. I don't know where you marked this at, but it wasn't on this day. So I'm not going to agree with that. You need to take that off and change it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but I mean, that's also making the assumption that like every contractor is putting in every single daily report and signing every single daily report every day, which
So
is
that's
the technical
conundrum.
answer of what they're supposed to do, but is often not actually what's happening in
Right.
reality.
So in this case, you would have to refer to your district's policy in that one, because I get it. I do. What they're supposed to be doing and what they actually do may not match. Okay, so let's see here. We have another question. Make sure I didn't miss anyone's. Yeah, I got that one. What is the current overnight per district document limit? I believe it is 500 documents right now. So, and it's actually, if I remember correctly, it's actually not an overnight thing. It's a recurring thing. So it'll go to one district, do 500, go to the next district, do 500, go to the next district, do 500 throughout the whole entire day. So it's not just an overnight thing, which is actually kind of nice. So it's possible, depending on the size of each district, that it might get through it more than once a day. It just depends on how many documents. Right now, once a PCF opens up, I don't see that it's going to happen more than once a day, but just keep in mind, it is a recurring thing that is happening. It'll send 500, it'll go to the next district, send 500, go to the next district, and then come back. Let's see here. We have another question. You can still pay on an activity that has an actual date on the activity. They have to separate payment percent versus the date is actualized as part of the UFGS versus standard specs. Oh, thank you for that information, Melissa. And yeah, to pay or not to pay is up to you guys. Cool. Thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Speaking of daily reports and activity dates, is the start finish date activities problem appearing in the report generated fixed yet? Single activities, I believe I want to say yes. It's either this one or the next release. I can't remember which release that is. I'll get back to you on that one. Next question we have, it says, are you working on an RMS update that will allow you to click on an item such as a deficiency at the bottom of the QA/QC summary module to link to the QA/QC report for that date? You know, we're working on a lot of stuff. I am not sure. Let me pop that question in. If you really want to know that answer, if I can't get back to you before the end of this session, please go ahead and give the help desk a call and we will reach into that or open up a ticket one way or the other. For those of you that do not know, our number is 442-333-1011. And if we do not answer the phone, please leave a voicemail and we will call you back. Usually the same day, probably within at least a couple of hours, just depends on how many calls we've got going on. Let's see here. Okay, so the question of whether or not the deficiency, was it the deficiencies repeating? No, it was the other one. The activities repeating. So the activities repeating in the report, that will be with this release. So as soon as this release goes out, which I believe is on Thursday, those activity start and finish dates will not be an issue after that. All right. Any other questions? Did I miss anybody else's questions? Let's see here. I was referring to the QC testing reports and the QC requirements. How can the KR link them to the relevant daily QC reports? This question was raised by the KTR during the progress meeting. QC requirements, how can they link that to the daily reports? Well, if I remember correctly, and QC daily reports is not my forte, so I could be a little off on this one. But if I remember correctly, what happens is in contractor mode, in their QC daily report, on the day that they've got a QC requirement that they need to do, there's a sub-module for QC requirements that they have to click on. When they click on that sub-module, that's where they can add the information for that QC test. Now, there's a caveat with the QC test. QC tests are special. When they go in, there's two places that they can go to the QC tests. They can go to the QC test module themselves, where they can look at the information and also look at the document package for those tests. However, if they want to update the status of that test, they have to do that in a QC daily report. So they run over to the QC daily report. It has to be a draft or a returned for corrections daily report, so that way they can edit the submodules. They're going to open up the QC requirements submodule in that daily report. In there, up at the top, there are sort tiles. One of the sort tiles says QC test. They have to click on that button. Once they click on that sort tile, what's going to happen is it's going to change the column view just a little bit. It's only going to show the QC test, and it's going to show an extra column of the QC status. The options are completed, awaiting test, and of course uncompleted and awaiting test. And then of course you have completed, either pass or fail. And it's up to them to be able to mark those in the correct location. Now, is that what you were asking about? Because that is linked to the QC daily report and has to be done in the daily report. And in both places, the document package is available for them as well, in the QC test module, as well as the deficiencies, the QC requirements, excuse me, the QC requirements submodule in the daily report. All right, any other questions?
I wrote a question regarding the QC testing reports. So yeah, so the contractor raised this question in the progress meeting. So when they go to the QC requirements on the QC daily reports, and they try, so when they click on the QC requirement and then they try to link the QC testing report that was the QC testing that was performed on that day, and they try to upload the reports. The thing is, so if they click on the QC test and it says activity date or the activity start date, so their question is, how can they change that date and change it to the actual date that the test was performed on?
So the test perform date, not the added date, but the date that the test was performed is when they change the status from uncompleted to completed awaiting test. That's when that date changes. Now, if the start date is the one that is incorrect, then that needs to be done in the daily report for that date. So if it was yesterday's date that needs to be fixed, then you have to return yesterday's QC daily to them for corrections, so that way they can fix it in that daily report.
So do they have to complete the test so then they can be able to change the date? That's what I understood from you, right?
More than likely, yes, but you know what? The best way to get about this, because this one, a lot of it depends on what the specific issue actually is, and from my understanding, it's correct, but it sounds like there might be something else that might be going on. Have your contractor or yourself give us a call at the help desk or send us a ticket, and we'll be more than happy to actually send you step-by-step instructions on how to do that with images and everything.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Well, we've got a few more minutes. We'll hang out for a few more minutes in case you guys do actually. Oh, wait, I do have another question. All right. Current KTR has completed and Gov accepted daily QC reports that have incomplete QC testing statuses. Incomplete meaning testing has not been completed. Are they able to update those QC tests? Yes, they can update that in the current daily. So basically, because the QC test process is not a single step, so you have a QC requirement that needs a test. You know that's going to happen on day A. Then you actually run the test. Well, when you run the test, you don't always have the answers on that day. So that's B, and that's test completed, awaiting results. Now you have it on another day. You go into another QC daily report. It's still going to show in their QC requirements under the QC test. Now, though, the status is going to still say completed, awaiting results. Once they get the results in, at that point, they change the status from awaiting results to either pass or fail, depending on what the results of that tests are. And if you want instructions on how to do that, or if you want to get your contractor instructions for that, again, please give us a call or submit a ticket, and we'll be more than happy to send you step-by-step instructions.
Going back to that NAS import export, if we currently have the block checked to make the dates match the QC report, once the update is done, do we need to go back in and ensure that's checked, or will it automatically be checked like it is?
It'll be whatever setting you currently have it, because the only difference that we did with this one is we changed the text to be more obvious what it's supposed to be doing. And of course, we added the text in the actual NAS letting you know what will happen based off of that checkbox. So you don't have to worry about checking or looking at it. It's not going to change.
Thank you.
At least the check status. Just the text on it. Any other questions?
One more question. Currently in my QC tests, they're showing up on my daily report as being done. However, the contractor has not marked them as being completed. And when I print out my report for my QC requirements, they don't show up on there, but they are showing up on my daily reports as needing to be addressed.
They should not necessarily show up that way. Go ahead and submit a ticket, either give us a call or put in a ticket through our JIRA system, and we'll look into that for you, because it shouldn't be that way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our OC had put out two statements that they wanted us to put on mods. They were kind of like finalized statements that the contractor can't come back with a claim afterwards. Are you guys gonna add those statements to RMS? You know, we could pick on the closing statements in RMS to add it to the SF30. Is that on your guys' radar at all, to add these two closing statements in?
I'm not 100% sure. I've seen a couple of things that have come through, but do me a favor.
Master Hearing from Alaska.
I'll create a ticket for you so we can
Okay.
look into that one and get back to you, okay?
Okay, hey, thanks, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
District. When you guys update a module that reports to some kind of system report in RMS, is updating that system report also part of the module update, or is that a second item?
Well, it depends on which system it actually is. Now, I do know oh yeah. So basically most systems will just pull data. So any changes that we make, they'll just pull the data that we've got in the systems. Now, if there is changes to the tables, for instance, we're talking about, so basically who is it? There's another system that does reporting, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called. With them, they'll pull everything from our system. They all pull everything from us except for PCF. PCF and CFMs are the only ones that we send information to, and none of that is changed with any of the changes that we have made in this next release.
And I'm thinking more about reports produced within RMS rather than data going to something like EDW or one of these other dashboard systems. Mostly I'm
Oh
thinking
yes,
about
the reports. So
if I'm working
anything
in RMS.
Yeah. All of the reports in RMS are usually updated at exactly this. Well, I shouldn't say usually. They are updated at the same time that the various different additions in the modules are added. So if a report affects a module that has a change, that report is also updated in the process.
Thank you.
I got an update for you for the closing statements. There are actually several in RMS that you can go ahead and add as needed for your district. And if you need help with that, I'll still create a ticket for you and you can respond if you still need help with that. Let's see, looks like we got another question. Isn't that language already in RMS in consideration? Yep. That's the closing statement information. All right, so it looks like we have run out of time. If you do have any more questions or you do have want to see any more information, you can always give us a call at the help desk or you can submit a support ticket. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Again, we went ahead and got the demos already uploaded on YouTube for today, so you can go check that stuff out now. Keep in mind, it's not going to be ready and actually be able to look at it until Thursday or whenever the release happens to actually be going. So it'll show you what you need. And if you have any questions, again, contact us at the help desk.
Okay, thank you everybody for attending. Reach out to the help desk if needed, if you have any lingering questions, and look out for the release on Thursday afternoon. Thank you.